Welcome everyone to the Industrial Design Program presentation. My name is Dr. Caroline Francis and I would like to thank you for coming along to RMIT's Open Day. Firstly, I want to draw your attention to the chat function to the right, which you are welcome to start posting questions throughout this presentation. So, the Industrial Design Program at RMIT is Australia's oldest, largest and most awarded program in the Southern Hemisphere. Our program has 500 students enrolled across 4 years, 2 campuses, 4 workshops and 3 double degree programs. Every year, we graduate approximately 80 new industrial designers who go on to work in diverse fields, including design consultancy firms, infrastructure companies, government agencies, global fast-moving consumer good companies and startups. Next slide, please. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the people of the Wurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. RMIT respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders, past and present. RMIT also acknowledges the traditional custodians of their ancestors of the lands and waters across Australia where we conduct our business. Next slide, please. RMIT is committed to redefining its relationship in working with and supporting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders' self-determination. The university's goal is to achieve lasting transformation by maturing its values, culture, policy and structures in a way that embeds reconciliation in everything we do. In line with the principles of Bunjil, we are changing our ways of knowing, working and being to support sustainable reconciliation and activate a relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous staff, students and community. Next slide, please. So our program, at the core of the Industrial Design Program is our underlying pedagogy that develops in our graduates the mindsets and skill sets to solve complex problems creatively. The program is designed to offer a broad range of theory and practical classes which explore this notion of creative and critical thinking, which makes our graduates highly sought after. 4 main areas of focus are explored in our program, being design for service, technology, objects and digital fields of practice. These areas often overlap and there are many opportunities where design can play in these fields. Next slide, please. Our entry requirements is competitive and a comprehensive process with a minimum ATAR of 54, a prerequisite of a VCE with units 3 and 4, and a minimum study score of 30 in English. The main round deadline is 19th of November, which you will be required to submit an application statement and a design folio. We are really looking for people who are able to demonstrate original thinking and diversity in their skills. We value life experience, self-starters and passionate endeavourers. There are a number of alternative pathways into our program that have different steps and requirements which you can learn about by searching RMIT Industrial Design Pathways. Next slide, please. Our course structure. Our program is a 4-year program with an embedded honours year. Every semester, our students enrol in a theory course, a technical skills course, and a studio course. And in this studio course, students get to apply their learning from the theory and technical. The first year of the course focuses on core skills, and most courses are prescribed. The second and third years allow for greater flexibility where students can choose to advance their technical skills in chosen areas through the program option courses and their studio courses. We offer between 10 to 12 studios every semester, which are unique, industry embedded projects, which utilise the skills learnt in the technical and theory courses. And finally, the 4th year of our program is an embedded honours course, which is a year-long self-directed capstone project. The students work with specialist supervisors and small group peer groups to deliver industry standard outcomes. We are the only industrial design program in Australia where the honours program is embedded, and as a result, our graduates present head and shoulders above other graduates, which is evident in the skills, portfolios and awards achieved, which I'll show you later. Next slide, please. Our industrial design students gain access to the most current 2D and 3D modelling tools. Students learn on our Wacom Syntex for digital concept drawing, and our computer labs are equipped with industry standard 3D CAD modelling software. Our workshops are equipped with manufacturing equipment, enabling our students to rapid prototype and physically test their ideas from concept through to production. Next slide, please. All of our studios are embedded with industry, which means the projects our students work on are from the industry, supported by industry partners and evaluated by industry. We encourage all students to undertake an internship in their second or third year with studying with us, and the program is supported by a dedicated team at RMIT specifically for design studios, opening up opportunities for our student to want to undertake an internship. We also encourage our students to enter in industry recognised and industry judged competitions, as well as attend design industry tours and walkthroughs where applicable, to learn about career pathways and industry expectations. Next slide, please. So here's some examples of our industry partners from the past 2 years of engagement. The Peter Mac Council Foundation, the National Gallery of Victoria, Public Transport Victoria, Vision Australia, WorkSafe Victoria, Fight Food Waste CRC, and a number of highly influential design consultancies such as Outer Space, Planet Innovation and NOG, just to name a few. Next slide, please. So what are we looking for? We place an emphasis on the social and environmental responsibilities of the designer right from the beginning of the program. We believe that designers have the unique ability to contribute positively and systemic program solutions in everyday lives. All our studio courses are designed to address complex and wicked problems. Their impact varies in scale from addressing the UN Sustainability Development Goals to working with specific industry partners such as Vision Australia and innovating for their specific needs. For example, we have students who design gameplay and engagement facilities for vision impaired children, as well as working with global technology companies to develop innovative user experience initiatives to address well-being in the elderly. So in summary, we are looking for people who have inquisitive minds, who are willing to mock up, trial, test, fail, learn, and find ways forward. Creative and critical thinkers who see problems as challenges, and those who want to make an impact to solve tomorrow's problems. Next slide, please. I would now like to take you through a collection of some of our graduates' work from our final honours year. Here we have Lucius Ha, who graduated from our program in 2020. He's the most passionate person you will ever meet for sneaker design. He completed an internship at Adidas at Portland, Oregon during his degree. This is his honours project, which is designed in sole for sneakers, which tracks the wear and tear of the product, as well as the subsequent support offers to the user. It was awarded the Best of the Best award from Red Dot Design Awards, and Lucius is currently in talks with several global sports brands for his next steps. Next slide, please. This is Walk This Way by Chloe Steeland, who graduated from our program in 2019. She was inspired by a study tour in Japan. Chloe wanted to address women's safety in public spaces. She developed a range of interventions to educate bystanders by their role in creating safe spaces. Chloe was recognised by the Good Design Awards as a finalist in 2019. And this project titled Walk This Way was adopted by the City of Melbourne and RMIT to help them understand a design for safer public spaces. Next slide, please. We're pretty proud of Tim Otway, who's graduated from our program in 2019. He designed and built a bike light which addresses motorists' ability to see cyclists on the road by lighting up the whole cyclist. Tim's project was awarded the prestigious James Dyson Award for Australia in 2020, and Tim is now working to launch this product in the market. Next slide, please. Caroline Frey graduated again also from our program in 2018. She designed a backpack with an emergency tent for one, after she discovered that most missing persons in mountainous terrain are day hikers who are underprepared and just get lost. Her work was selected to be part of the Global Industrial Design Exhibition in 2019 in Dubai. Next slide, please. If you've ever want to eat plates, Madison Wright is your gal. She graduated from our program in 2018 and she designed a series of disposable plates made from lettuce leaves, and supposedly you can eat them. Her work was awarded a Good Design Award in 2019 and Melbourne Design Week Waste Award in 2019. Madison has gone on to work in food waste research for Australia's leading researchers. Next slide, please. I love this project. Ryan Tilley graduated from our program in 2018, and his innovation for wheelchair wheels, which allows users to access uneven terrain such as the beach as shown here, has taken the design world by storm. His work has been awarded a Good Design Award in 2019, Premier Design Award in 2019, and a prestigious James Dyson Award. Ryan's project is now commercially available and is endorsed by the NDIS. In addition to all these amazing projects, we've just received some good news also about 2 other graduates, which I just want to mention here. Tim Lutton has won the Runners-Up Award for the James Dyson Award, the 2nd time in a row, and a product design graduate for Vic in Tasmania from the DIA, and Best Product Design graduate for Australia. And another call out is for Aaron Nguyen, who has been awarded the national winner of the James Dyson Award for his ankle-foot orthosis system that grows with children. His product is titled Lunar Modular AFO, so please check it out on the James Dyson Award website. Next slide, please. We have many global opportunities, and RMIT has partnered with 200 universities around the world. There are many partnership opportunities to share knowledge and projects through these synergies. Exchange placements are also possible when travel restrictions lift. We also now offer greater flexibility in our teaching delivery modes with face-to-face and online courses, or even a hybrid of both, offered throughout the Industrial Design program. Next slide, please. Our designers are problem solvers and are employed in many industries that require user-centered, sustainable, creative and critical thinkers. Some names we are also known as beyond industrial design is product designers, service designers, user experience designers, or even in the more specialized areas such as furniture designers. Our designers can be found in new product development firms, design consultancies and businesses, manufacturing, R&D and innovation teams. They may investigate consumers' needs, future trends, products and systems-based solutions. They may explore novel materials, processes and even emerging technologies. This career branches into many industrial sectors. It is an exciting one that enables you to choose your own path wherever that may lead you. Next slide, please. I just wanted to call out the important dates that is important for applying for our program in 2022. Your application submission is due by the 19th of November. Orientation day is 22nd to the 26th of February. Classes begin at the start of semester 1, beginning the 1st of March, and the last day to enrol for semester 1 is the 8th of March. Next slide, please. Now we will soon give you some time to ask some questions, and you are welcome to start posting questions into the Teams chat section, and you will find on your right just before you do this. I would like to say thank you for attending our open day, and that it was a real pleasure taking you through this information, allowing us to boast about our award #1 design program within the Asia Pacific. I would now like to welcome my co-program manager, Julia Anich, to assist me in taking any questions that you may have.
Great, thanks, Caroline. We've got one that's just come through. Erica's asking, could you please describe the selection tasks?
Of course. So we have, you need to submit a statement that actually gives you, that outlines some of your past experience or projects that you've worked on, and maybe at high school or within work experience. We would love to start seeing the range of things that you've been exposed to, and understanding a little bit more about yourself as well. What kind of things that you like to do and what hobbies do you undertake? as industrial designers, we've got to recognise that all the interests and passions and all the skill sets that we have really start to build up who you are as a designer. Many designers have branch out into many industries, so we would like to see a cross section of different skill sets. Also, you need to present to us a portfolio. Submit a portfolio, so that should showcase again some of your projects and visualize the things that you've been up to. And it could be even small little parts that you've upgraded your bike, or you know, for instance, projects that you've done maybe in design and technology at university, or even an art-based project. We're really interested in many things across that.
Wonderful. All right, another one. Kathy would like to know, what campuses is industrial design across?
Currently, it's based across Brunswick and the city campus, and so what we have is most of our years are located in the city campus, and some of our years are out in Brunswick. So we have the benefit of having 2 campuses and a wider reach. So we have many different workshops across those spaces, and we have the ability to have interdisciplinary work with other schools as well. We work closely out in Brunswick with the fashion and the VE spaces, so there's opportunities for collaboration there as well.
All right, here's a tricky one, Caroline. Lisa wants to know, how do you choose which design to choose?
Wonderful. When it's in industrial design, there's many opportunities for you to find design projects. Sometimes it's a design brief from a client that you're working with. Sometimes you might be working in a big business, and they will actually state that they want to upgrade a particular product range, or you're maybe in an innovation team as well, and they might be saying, we would like you to forecast, you know, particular ways that we can move our business, and where is the trends going into for consumers, what are they wanting, what's their new needs and wants. So, you know, how you select is sometimes it's sometimes scoped already for you, but sometimes maybe you're a startup and you want to design your own project all from the start go. And so it's really important that you actually start to work out who you want to be and where you want to go, and then those will actually define what those design briefs will be for you going forward.
Wonderful. I've got another one here for you, Caroline. Are you able to tell us what it's like being a first-year industrial design student at RMIT?
Oh, it is exciting. It's one of it's a really fantastic year where you get to meet all the different types of designers amongst yourselves, and the great teachers that are actually there nurturing you. We often also get you to do speed dating amongst all the students, just to get to know each other. We call it speed dating. It's really networking, but it's just to help you learn about each other, because some people are really good at CAD already, and some people are really good at making videos. Some people are really good at presenting, and some people are maybe really good at sketching, and all of the different skill sets. We've got to realize that we're stronger together, and if we learn about those things quickly in first year, we take that through our whole journey of our program. So it's really important to get to know your colleagues or your peers, and also we try to train you to peer review as well. So you often do your designs, and on a weekly basis you'll put it up like as a pin-up, and so even on an online basis you might present through the screen, but if it's through a face-to-face delivery, you'll actually potentially do it on the screen again, but also through posters, and we'll get students to peer review that work as well. So you'll be a lot of discussion happening in first year. We don't really like to give a lot of just content and lectures at students. We like to get engagement and interaction happening, so our students are learning by doing and putting things into place by application. Yep.
Wonderful. Next question is, how can you talk us through the different specializations that students can take and electives that students can take in the second and third years?
Wonderful, yeah, absolutely. So our studios, as I mentioned earlier, is that it's an opportunity to exercise all the technical and theory that you've learnt through the other courses. And so we give you a lot of freedom to develop your work in those spaces. We do have 4 areas, which is materiality, speculative, social, and digital, and these 4 areas are crafted in various ways so that you can be exposed to what you may find in industry, but it allows you to have space and time to think in individual and teamwork, where you start to learn from each other, but also develop all of those skill sets that you have from the first year and second and third year to exercise a design project so that you have a lot of control. And so as teachers, we often like to ask you questions rather than answer your questions. We like to prompt you to try and find the answers. It's really important that once you graduate, you're someone that if you have a question, you're not going to go, well, where's my lecturer to answer my question? We want you to go, I know how to find an answer myself. So we want to build you to a point where you already have the ability to find the answers and really explore the questions you may have through desk research, perhaps consumer research. You might actually go and do surveys. You might do sketches and share it amongst your peers, your designers, because designers themselves are a cohort that you can get a lot of feedback from, which is a really exciting time. You know, being at university, talking with each other and learning from each other and giving each other guidance to move forward. It's a really exciting career.
All right, Caroline, this is probably the last one. It's from Yuki. They're asking, when is there going to be a physical event at the industrial design space? Because they'd like to see some of the work.
Absolutely. Currently, we are in lockdown, so we have to comply with the Victorian government lockdowns. But as soon as we can physically open up the campus and organise an event, we are ready to do so. So our end of year exhibition is called GradX, and we're working hard to display a bit of a website, but also we have a plan B if everything does open up, that we would like to have you know, a way to display things. But we are mindful that these are unusual times, and we need to make sure that, you know, everything is displayed in a manner so everybody can understand the amazing work that has gone throughout the year, and it's just wonderful what has been actually produced. We are so proud of our students, all the work that has been developed, and we're really keen to showcase it. So we're just working within the limitations and the rules that are placed on us currently, but as soon as we have freedom to open up and present things in a physical space, we'll be inviting you all along to have a look. So please keep an eye on our website and make sure you are aware of anything that's actually presented will be promoted on our website. So thank you.
I think we have time for just one more, so I'm going to squeeze it in. It's from Rebecca. Where do RMIT graduates typically end up?
That's an excellent question, because industrial design is so flexible. I like to think of us as managers of problems, and so we're actually scooped up in many spaces. I've seen industrial designers working in even banks, and because they are very good at working with users and understanding how people can actually, you know, how designers can solve problems for users. There's industrial designers work not only in the physical artifacts, 3D built environment space, but we also work in systems and services, and in the digital space, technologies and materials. So we're very flexible. It's hard for us to nail down specifically where we go. It's really where you choose to go. There are many opportunities for industrial designers. We often work with many stakeholders in the design process. So we learn project management skills. We know how to pull in people as we need to get a product or project or system designed. And so we work with people, and we're constantly learning, we're constantly talking to people and having a dialogue with users, or even understanding the environment needs. So there's many opportunities. As I said previously, we can also move into consultancies, manufacturing, big businesses, or a startup. You could work with venture capitalists. You could work with even a government grant. Many grants are actually being offered for designers to come up with new solutions to the world's problems of today. So there's many opportunities in that space as well. We can work with simple modifications of products to radical designs and innovations. So, you know, look, I want to keep going on, but industrial design is broad and it's flexible and it's creative, and you have to be a critical thinker and think on your feet, but willing to see problems as challenges, and that's what we're looking for. So we're hoping to meet you.
Wonderful. Maybe we have time for one more. Sorry, they're all just starting to come in, so I'm just quickly floating them through and watching the clock closely. This is from Honey. What are some of your main industry relationships or partnerships? What is the opportunity to interact, gain experience in industry as a student?
Absolutely. So we work with any company that has a particular problem. So designers can obviously use design thinking to dissect a problem. We look at, you know, the people that are in that problem. We look at the capabilities of those people. We look at understanding what is the facilities and all the things. And then we actually dissect the problem into manageable pieces, so we understand we can actually step into a problem and start to not only define it and empathize it and understand that area, but then we come up with lots of ideas, many ideas that can actually address that problem. And some of those ideas are really broad, and then we can bring that back to a more realistic outcome. But where we actually, who we actually work with is often, you know, we partner with big companies, even smaller companies. Just to mention my background, I've worked in small consultancies where we worked with Australia Post, even because we're a small consultancy. They gave us a lot of visualize our future, help us to understand what we should do as Australia Post. And we started to come up with concepts. We looked across different countries to understand what they were doing. We then started to see this 24/7 locker system, but it's been rolled out in other countries. And so we tried to implement that, and this was early days. And so we developed that and proposed that to Australia Post. And they were saying, this is fantastic, how do we do this? And then we took them further. So, you know, and then you might work into big multinational companies which have a specific product line. And so that those particular big companies may partner with multiple smaller companies as well. It's as I mentioned in the slide previously, that was just a sample of some of our partners. But look, there's so many opportunities to partner with existing businesses, but also you can be a brand new innovation business, which, you know, you find them on Indiegogo and Kickstarter, getting crowdfunding, and there's more opportunities for small, medium enterprises to navigate and create new little products that sometimes even get bought by big companies because they're just such an innovative product. There's so many ways to partner with companies and also and create new ideas through those partnerships. So it's hard to define, but hopefully I answered your question there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caroline. That was really great. And that is it.
Wonderful. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for having us, and thank you, Juliet, for taking the questions. And hopefully we'll come and see you one day next year. Look forward to it. I will hand it over now to Russell Kerr, who is going to take you through the communication design presentation.
Thank you very much, Caroline and Juliet. And welcome everyone to the presentation today. My name is Russell Kerr. I'm the Program Manager for the Bachelor of Communication Design, and it's great to have a chance to chat with everyone today, and I look forward to hanging out with you for the next half an hour or so. Next slide, please. So just before we get into the presentation, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that we're currently sitting on today in Australia, the Woiwurrung and Boiwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, whose unceded lands we conduct our business of the university on. The RMIT University respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders, past, present and emerging, and RMIT also acknowledges the traditional custodians and their ancestors of the lands and waters across Australia where we conduct our business. Next slide, please. Thanks. So the communication design program is quite diverse in its makeup. It aims to shape communication across all aspects of contemporary society, from commercial, entertainment, education sectors, environmental, cultural and civic sectors. It's really quite open in terms of where a communication where a communication designer can work. It could be locally, it could be internationally, and as such we try to make sure that communication design is really internationally or locally aware, and that you as students graduating from the program are capable of working across a range of domains, including traditional graphic design, advertising, branding, user experience, illustration, and more emerging fields like social design or service design. In the program, you'll learn a range of skills. It's very studio-based, where you're working with small groups of students in different situations to develop a range of visual strategies to contribute to all phases of the problem-solving process. To check my audio is okay, I think. It's all clear, thank you. Sorry, I'm getting a couple of messages. So yeah, the major areas of studies are communication strategies, conceptual thinking, design processes, user experience, topography, publication, and strategic branding. So it's quite a diverse program where students can sort of make their own way into the specialisation they think is most appropriate to them. Next slide, please. So the entry requirements, we don't have an ATAR. Essentially, it's just a selection task with the English requirement of VCA units 3 and 4, and you need to have a score of at least 30 in English. The selection task just asks you to submit some examples of your work and to answer a couple of questions. And the selection task you can get off the program page on the website. Next slide, please. We also have a couple of pathways into the program. You can either come through an associate degree, which is in the Brunswick side TAFE part, for 2 years and then do 1 year of the bachelor, or you could do the certificate for, in design and the diploma of design for 1.5 years, then go into the associate degree for a year, and then come into the final year of the program. So they're two both existing pathways from the VTAC entry. Next slide, please. The course structure is very much based around a studio experience. The first year of the program is really building your core sort of base communication design skills with a couple of big 24 credit point courses and then two smaller 12 credit point courses. And then over the second and third year of the program, half of your load is in our studio experience, which I will cover in a little bit later in the presentation. And then you do a few electives and some other core courses throughout the program, really just aiming to give you through all the bases you need for communication design. And the electives you can choose from a range of different electives, from 3D printing, advertising, sound design. You could even do yoga if that was something that you're interested in. Next slide, please. Industry connection is a really strong part of our program. I would say all the studios are connected to industry in some way, through a direct relationship with a real client, or the project that students are working on within the studio programs, or even in some of the core courses, are definitely connected to industry projects. We have clients that work with the studios, or generally we can just go out and engage with industry through mentorships or industry placements. And we also do quite a few field trips and clinical and studio kind of practices in anything from, say, a letterpress studio into screen printing places, or sometimes into some of the bigger service design places like ANZ or Deloitte Digital potentially. Next slide, please. So the industry partners are quite varied, as I was saying. Some of our more notable ones are with the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, Adobe, the National Gallery of Victoria, as well as, I would say, Deloitte is a big one for us, and then a bunch of smaller design studios and practices around Melbourne, and also into global areas as well. Next slide, please. So our program is built around the studio experience. Half of your degree is spent in these studios, and they're divided into 3 categories: craft, strategy, and futures. Our craft studios look at particular forms of design and making. The strategy asks you to look at more big picture kind of experiences and see where design or design processes can be used to solve problems. And our future studios look for new contexts where design is making a difference. And all the studios overlap to a certain extent across both craft, strategy, and futures, but all of them are centered around a research experience or a research inquiry, and then get students to work through that particular research inquiry through their particular studio and the studio experience. Next slide, please. So a craft studio can be thought of as more traditional ways of making. So stuff like packaging or publication design is featured normally in a craft studio. This is an example of a package that a student did a couple of years ago for a cold pressed organic juice. So designing both the typography and then thinking about the intricacies of how the type would get onto the glass and how the packaging process might work. So sort of into a traditional graphic design sort of headspace, I would say. Next slide, please. And this is another example of a slightly different version of a craft studio. This one's around an illustration focused. Illustration is quite a strong theme throughout our program. We have a number of studios which focus on different types of illustration, be that traditional editorial illustration. We have a couple of studios this semester on games and comic design, and so illustration is quite a strong thread that runs throughout our program. Next slide, please. Strategy studios tend to look at the bigger picture for specific audiences. This is an advertising studio that looked at solving problems for the Beyond Blue organisation, and how you might look at mental health through a traditional kind of billboard campaign. So not just designing the graphics, but designing the strategy about where the advertisement might take place. Next slide, please. The hospitable studio is run for quite a number of years now, and it's getting students to figure out what an authentic hospitality offering might be, and how communication design can play a role in not just designing the visuals and the graphics of the particular material, but also the strategy for how offerings might be offered in the future. Next slide, please. And our future studios are a bit of a container for non-traditional studio experiences that don't fit into the other two categories, and they're often looking at problems, bigger problems going on in the world, either at a local level or sometimes at a global level, and how design or the problem-solving nature of design can be used to solve a problem rather than necessarily just make a visual graphic. This was an example of a project that was looking at how the Queen Victoria Market might undergo its renewal. So looking at sort of a service design aspect and how you might map that process. Next slide, please. And then traditional publication also can fit into a future looking studio at times. This is a studio that's run by Dr. Andy Simeonato that looks at publication design practices and what might happen with the print and digital experience in a non-printed publication sense. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the studios are a very key component of our program. The key thing about the studios is you have second and third year students both enrolled at the same studio at the same time. So you get a really nice interaction between a third year student and a second year student. It both helps to build community and also foster this nice sense of designing between year levels in the studio experience. All our studios for the last 3 or possibly 4 semesters are up on the website that you can see there. So it's rmitcd.studio. So if you're interested to have a look about the specific kind of studios that we offer each semester, there's approximately 20 studios offered each semester. So you can get a bit of a sense of the nuances of a studio and what's offered across the program by visiting that website. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, industry engagement is key within our program, and we have a long history of links between different industry organisations. Next slide, please. Molly is a great example of someone who undertook a placement in her studio at RMIT in the communication design, and through placement she was able to design both for a professional client and then also respond to feedback. And she found that they'll really help her to prepare for potential future employment within the corporate world, and it was a really great beneficial experience for her. Next slide, please. We have a range of international partnerships and opportunities for students across the world. Obviously, it's a little bit tricky in our current pandemic situation, but once the borders open up, there are definitely opportunities for students to do sharing their teaching experience across different universities across the globe. And we do have students from all over the world coming into the communication design program on exchange. Next slide, please. So career outcomes are really, really varied out of our program. Everything from more traditional roles such as an art director, a graphic designer, or a communication designer. We can also definitely be a web designer or a UX designer, interaction design, and then some more emerging sort of fields are service design or experience designer, which we're getting a lot more graduates leaving the program and heading into these kind of service design or experience designer roles over the last few years. Next slide, please. So important dates to remember. The selection task is due on the 19th of November, so not that far away. Orientation is 21st to 25th of February, and then our classes begin 28th of Feb. Any luck, we'll be back on campus by that point. And our last day to enrol is the 7th of March, 2022. Next slide, please. So yeah, that's the end of our communication design presentation. It'd be great to hear some questions from you all now. I've got our Associate Dean, Neil Haslam, who is going to be giving us a hand with the questions.
Yeah, thanks, Russell. We've got some good questions. We had a question asked a little while ago, a pragmatic question about the program and what sort of device you recommend that people actually have in order to start the program, whether it's an iPad, a MacBook.
Sure. I think I would personally recommend a MacBook or a PC version of that. You need to definitely be able to run the Adobe software suite. And while you can do that on an iPad, it is definitely more beneficial to use a laptop device, mainly because it allows you to export files in a more versatile format that's better suited to what will happen in industry. And you tend to find that the software works in a fuller extent on a laptop rather than on an iPad.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Russell. And there's a question here from Nicole about what sort of experience is available through the course with industry partners. And I know you talked about this a little bit, but perhaps you could give some examples.
Sure. So we have an internship course that is running. So in the second half of your degree, you can go and find an internship placement, or you can select one of the internship placements, and that's where you go and do a semester of your study in an industry. So that could be with somewhere like Australia Post or Deloitte Digital or a smaller organisation. I think that's a growing sort of area in our particular program over the last 18 months or so, and it's definitely an opportunity for all students to undertake an internship. And then was the rest of the question about industry or experiences, Neil?
Yeah, industry partners. There's also a question from Beth around who do we partner with for internships?
Who do we partner with around internships is really varied, and I would say changes each semester. There is a dedicated team within the school who work on that with students. So it's something that the students could seek out by themselves to work with a particular organisation, or I know we have had internships with Australia Post, with Deloitte Digital, ANZ Bank in our particular program, and then I'm sure some of the other programs within the school would have different businesses. But I would say it's a very open-ended and can be led either by the students finding a business that they would like to work with, whether a large or a small studio, or those businesses would come to us and work out that relationship.
Great. There's a great question here about, so do graduates work mainly in agencies and freelance? Where else might graduates work?
Thanks, Neil. I think it's very diverse again where graduates end up working. They can be in a more traditional sense with a smaller design studio with 3 or 4 people, and you might be the youngest designer in that studio. You could also work with a bigger agency, and then a lot of students, I think, end up running their own businesses at the end. It's more of an entrepreneurial kind of experience that they have in the program, and then they turn their idea into a small business, either as a freelance company, or they might start up a t-shirt business or a cafe. It really is quite varied in terms of where students can end up once they go through the program. And then you can also end up in a bigger, like a non-design agency, such as a city council or a not-for-profit organisation, or a bank, for instance, using design to solve problems within part of their team.
Great, thanks. There was an earlier question asked by Sam about the kind of software required and whether students need to purchase that software.
Thanks, Sam. It's a great question. As a student, you get access to the Adobe Creative Suite. So while you're an enrolled student, you don't need to pay for that software. It just comes as part of your student package. So you just log in and download it. And yeah, you got access to the whole Creative Suite while you're in the program. And that's pretty much all you need access to.
And a question from Nicole, who's in year 10. So she's thinking ahead. What subjects would you recommend I study for year 11 and 12 to get into communication design?
Thanks, Nicole. That's also a great question, and good to see that you're thinking about it nice and early. I think the VisCom subject is definitely a good one to do. Obviously, your English, and then I would say something that you're most passionate about and can, whether that be drawing or painting or photography. I'm not exactly sure of the depends on what school you're at, I guess, what VC subjects you have offered for. But yeah, studio arts, VisCom, and just doing something that you're really passionate about, because I think generally if you're passionate about something, you can produce work that you are really proud of, and then that will come through when you put it in the selection kit.
And there's another question. I know you talked a little bit about entrepreneurial work, like communication designs, but there's a, do you offer any entrepreneurial subjects for those who want to start their own design business?
It's also a great question. You can do an elective in the school from anywhere across the university. You have 2 elective choices in that sort of vein across your course. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship or starting a business, I think you could definitely pick up those as an electives within the program. And you'll probably find that some of the studios we offer too also sometimes look into that space where you're trying to be more entrepreneurial in the project that you're, or the research project that you're working on.
And there's an interesting question here. What makes RMIT better than our competitors? Why should I put RMIT at number 1?
That's a very good question. You should put us at number 1 because we're the most awesome one, obviously. No, I think it really depends on what kind of designer you would want to be, I would guess. I think all the different universities, especially based in Melbourne City, have a sort of different graduate that comes out of them. And I think the strength of our particular program is that we don't have a mold or a shape or a cookie cutter kind of approach that if you come into this program at the other end, you'll come out as a certain kind of designer. The pathway that you choose as a student to go through the degree is completely up to you. And I think that's our strength, is that you are not pushed into one particular direction. Your interests and skills are really encouraged and sort of cultivated so that you can come out of the program the designer you want to be. And I think that is definitely our advantage over the other programs.
Thanks, Russell. I think that's, unless there's any other questions from anybody. There's some great information that Andrew's just put up with links to the Next Fest. You can have a look at those links, and we also put up the link to the Communication Design Studios. So if you have a look at that, you can see the kind of studios that Russell's been talking about, and the link to the 2020 Graduate Showcase. So that gives you a really strong idea of the work coming out of the program.
And I would also keep an eye on the RMIT Communication Design page and the School of Design Graduate Festival website, because we will be having on-campus events in line with government regulations. So the one we're planning for communication design is definitely one that you will be able to go to in a safe way once we launch that towards the end of October. So keep an eye on that Grad Festival website to see what this year's students are doing. So yeah, thanks. Thanks everyone for joining us today. It's been great to see your questions, and hopefully you got what you needed out of both our session and the industrial design session. If you have any questions, I think just please get in contact with us, either as a program or through the website, and visit the website there on any details for how to apply to both of the programs.
Thank you, everyone.